Do you want to lose weight, but don't feel like starving yourself? This is a common mistake a lot of people make on their fitness journey. On this episode, I sit down with Dean Guedo, the Walk More King. And guess what we talk about? Well, probably not that surprising. We talk about how walking can entirely change your fitness approach. To support the podcast, hit the link in the description and head over to brickheadstrong.com and pick up a shirt so you look cool at the gym. They're going to be like, whoa, I didn't know you know Brick. And you can be like, I do, officially, because I wear this shirt. That's brickheadstrong.com. Anyways, let's get to the episode. All right, Dean, the Walk More King. What are you doing over there?
Yeah, I'm walking. I figured that was like how I should introduce myself, is on a walk.
Oh, yeah.
Just to prove it.
Absolutely. So, I got to let you in on a little secret. About 2 years ago, Brick started walking every day. 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
10,000 steps. I got rid of doing running. What do you think about all that? How did you first get into doing steps for reps?
How did I get into steps? So, like, part of it was I had to do this presentation for a man named Ben House in Costa Rica on something that I do in my practice. And I didn't really know what it was. And then as I kind of dug into the research, it's called high flux. But long story short, eat more, do more, and more particularly, walk more. And then how do you basically get people to diet without crushing calories in the ground and hating life? And so walking ended up being that end around to it. And then I tested it out. And man, it's magic.
Absolutely.
It works.
Yeah, that's one of the things Brick noticed. I was one of those people who would refuse to do leg day. So it was mainly because I was running so much, my legs were sore. I never wanted to do any lifting at the gym.
I was one of those guys. I used to do powerlifting, but people didn't believe I could lift as much as I did because my legs were so skinny.
How much were you
Well,
lifting?
I can. I think my max squat was 650. Deadlifted 745 in my basement, but 705 pounds in competition.
Wow, that's great.
I don't look like it. So it's kind of my secret.
Wow. So you're a fitness coach?
Yeah. I would say I'm an ex personal trainer, because now I used to own a gym, and now I do nutrition online. So basically my practice involves coaching one-on-one people on nutrition, and then end around. I basically, my nutrition is just go walk.
So
It's not that, but that's kind of the basis.
I'm going to give this a shot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to say it
Okay.
without saying another word, but here we go.
Okay.
What in the ruck is Flux?
What in the ruck is? I like it. Yeah, like my biggest, and we might be writing a book on this.
Oh.
But, it's called Get Fluxed. So I don't even have to say it, but Get Fluxed. The main concept of that, so like kind of what I do, kind of that eat more, do more, is just that in classical diets, people basically slam calories. Hey, I got to eat less food to lose weight, which is definitely true. And what most people find out is that although it works short term, they can't do it long term. Like eating less sucks. Eating diet foods, salads, chicken with no sauce, no French fries. Like that sounds like a horrible existence.
Yeah.
And so the end around is the cost of eating more is doing more. And so you can actually be in a deficit while eating a lot of the foods you like, but more calories than what would be classical dieting. The cost is you got to do more. And so it's kind of a play on classical diets suck. The new diets are awesome, but it's not that they don't both work. It's just that the way I envision it is that which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that gets to eat French fries, some sauce on your rice, a salad with sauce, maybe a beer or two, and chicken breast, or do you want to just eat chicken and salad? And I think that the people who can eat more food and still be in a deficit generally do better long term. And it looks like their life, as opposed to this classic bodybuilding, dieting, cutting show thing that no one's really going to do long term. And so eat more, do more, but we're still in a deficit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's called high flux.
Hype.
And so get fluxed.
Get fluxed. Well,
Get
I'd
fluxed.
love to get fluxed because I love food. I love eating.
Yeah.
Recently,
Yeah.
I was talking to Tiffany. She's a fitness coach. And we
Yeah.
talked about getting your steps in. And we talked about the
Yeah.
importance of making sure you eat more every day. Because a lot of people get it wrong. They think the less I eat, the more weight I'll lose. But your body needs at least a few calories in there to get through your day. We need energy just to survive, you know.
It is a big true. Like eating less food definitely works. You just look like someone who's starving, right? So it's kind of that whole idea of like everyone's arguing it works, which it does, but eating more food gets kind of conceptualized as eat whatever you want. It's like, no, just don't starve yourself. Eat a little bit more than that, and then we can do the thing.
So when you're approaching these workouts for people, how many steps per day do you think people need?
Yeah, so and you mentioned 10,000. I think 10,000 is a good starting point. The way I like to structure it, if I have complete control over this thing, is kind of instead of starting with food, start with how much we do. And so a lot of times with exercise and lifting, I'm just assuming people are lifting because you should. And so I don't use that as a leverage point because the time you invest lifting is just not cumulatively a ton in a week or a month. You're talking like maybe an hour lift session where you're lifting for 15 minutes. So lift, do that thing as the top rung, but I'm also looking at how much are you moving in a day just as a proxy for basically overall activity. And so can we get the highest amount of steps when you put intention on it is where I start. And then I work on, okay, how much food do we need after we've established that to lose weight and establish a deficit? And usually where we fall on is a higher number than if you just start with the first category, which is drop food till we lose weight, right? Get in a deficit. I'm just flipping it around. And so again, I push walking, but walking is just a proxy. Like, so it'd be NEAT, non-exercise thermogenesis or activity thermogenesis, but everything that's not exercise, because of that time invested, it's everything you're doing in a day that isn't working out. And so it just cumulatively adds up to way more time to kind of push that lever for weight.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a lot to do with the type of job you have. You know, maybe people are on their feet all day. They work in the warehouse. They probably get a couple natural steps in right there. They might not need as much at the end of the day.
No, and like you ask, like how much do people need, and like it'll really depend on their life and how much time they have. What I find is that everyone can walk more. I think it's a good benefit. I think a lot of the lion's share of the gains in terms of health metrics, so like all-cause mortality, not dying, disease, is kind of at about 7,000. But none of that takes into effect people who need to lose weight, right? If we look at risk factors for dying, obesity, smoking, and how much do you move, right? And so obesity is a big one. And the good thing is we can walk more and get that all-cause mortality down. But if we walk more than that, right, that's going to be a huge, huge factor in how much do we lose, and can we keep that off long term? So what I find is it tends to be a lot more than that. And so when we talk in fitness about minimums, the minimum to me is literally the least amount of effort you can put towards this for weight loss. I'm looking at probably somewhere north of 12,000. Again, time dependent, right? But more is generally going to be better because of that whole high flux thing. And so my model largely, again, I present this in different ways, but how much activity can we get per volume of time? Like how much volume of activity can you get for the time you have is kind of the metric I'm looking at. And steps ends up being a proxy, but where I find most people fail is they just don't do enough. They just don't do enough. And lifting's just not enough in a lot of cases to push that needle. And then food's just not enough because they're just not going to do it. Like I said, no one's going to eat like a bird forever.
No.
Like it's just like you can't get the reps that way.
No, you definitely can't. And you said the magic word, reps. And this is Rep and Fitness. So I know you're getting your steps in right now. How many steps are you going to get in right now? How many do you think?
Like in an hour, I'll get about
6,000. Now,
6,000.
Have you gotten any other in today?
Yeah, like I walked my daughter to daycare,
Nice.
so I got 3,000. I did some work around the yard, so yeah, I'm up probably like 8,000 steps
Wow.
already. Again, I work from home. Like I don't have an office job like everyone, but yeah, like I'm at 8,000.
Nice.
Like
You're ahead of me.
10 o'clock.
You're ahead of me today. I have only got 4,000 so far, but I had to do this podcast with you.
You get more reps.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
now, before we got on air, you mentioned something to me that
No.
you may have thought Brick Headstrong is the mayor of fitness, Andrew Coates.
Yeah. Like there were. So when we first started this thing, like Andrew's like, you got to do this thing. This guy, he's legit. And knowing Andrew, I'm like, what do you have planned?
Right.
And then I looked at you, and I was like, this could be Andrew Coates. And so I thought he was like secretly trying to get me on a podcast with him. And I'm like, why didn't you just ask me? But he still refuses to say you are him or him is you. And so I don't know.
Well,
but it's uncanny.
I appreciate it. And I'll tell you a secret. I'm trying to get Andrew to get me the centerfold in Muscle and Fitness because I'm trying to get on Mr. Olympia. And currently, I need to qualify through a regional event, but I saw you can qualify just by getting invited. So,
yeah, like, and he's the guy. He played coy. Like, I think he underplayed how much connection he has in that thing. He's like, oh, you just gotta kind of work your way. I know his whole.
Oh
thing.
yeah. I'll get on him then.
I think you could press him harder because someone like Andrew, he holds his cards really close, and I think he was testing you, right? Like seeing where are you at in terms of trust and friendship. So I mean, I think there's an in route there because I again, without that leg workouts, like you need legs to win those competitions, and probably a few years behind, right? So I think that might be one of the ways that you kind of end around to that. 100% doable.
That sounds like a good move. I'm going to get on him about it. Like, I'll do some more legs. I do legs, but I just don't like bragging about it, you know?
Yeah.
Not many of us big guys like to do that, you know?
Yeah, like you got to stay humble, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The people who talk about it, if you talk about it, you're not about it.
No. I'm all about it. All the reps.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is Rep of Fitness. We need to talk about reps. When you're at the gym, what's your rep range?
Yeah. So this is gonna suck. So like we talked about reps. Somewhere along the powerlifting journey, my body's broken and battered. So like I put in all the reps to the point where now I've retired. I do jiu-jitsu and walking. And
yeah, I saw you got your purple belt. Congratulations.
Thank you. But because I was so like I put in the reps, so I was so big that it was actually stopping me from succeeding in jiu-jitsu because I basically looked like you. Like I was a fridge. I put in the reps. And so I actually... You
still look like me. You're huge.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, there's a theory behind that. I feel like if you put in the work and you still have some form of general physical activity that does require your body to have tension, jiu-jitsu being one of them, and especially when you first start, you're just holding on for dear life. Like I would say I was isometrically contracted probably for a year straight. So in terms of that, I don't even know how you quantify that amount of reps. But I feel like I was able to preserve a lot of muscle just by like being really physically active. If that makes sense.
Oh, it does make sense. The more active you are, the easier this gets.
Yeah. Yeah, and rucking ends up being so like I know we may talk about this, but like I walk, but how to get more volume within that time, like get more reps, get more volume. I just add weight on, and it's not that it's not lifting, it's not, but like it sucks. Like my back and legs just get jacked up. So, I mean, I probably do 6,000 steps in an hour. Like that's 6,000 quarter squats of rucking. So, I guess that would be my answer.
So yeah, I saw you wear power vests. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah. I like switch it up. So I got a vest. I got like the army vest too, like the CrossFit one, and then I got like a backpack where I throw like these like laser. I don't even know what the laser cut, but these iron weights you put in, and then I just like crush it.
Wow. What do you think about rucking? If you're interested in trying it out, I've included a link where you can buy your own weighted backpacks. Plus, by using that link, you'll be supporting the podcast. It's win-win. Let's get back to the episode. So, we're talking volume. What would you recommend people to how to get started with getting more steps in and making it count?
Yeah. So like, obviously get a walking treadmill, but I think like if you use that, hey, I'm going to get as much reps in, period. Like, and I'm all for general physical activity. So in a lot of ways, my walking message could be like, why don't I just run or lift? 100% do that. But if we're kind of looking at, hey, I got that covered, steps would be basically trying to make everything as inefficient as possible. I think part of the problem, we talked about work and sitting, but we've designed a world where we don't have to do anything. Right. We could literally order food and groceries. We could basically just work out in a chair if we wanted to. We just aren't. We don't have to do anything anymore. And so the end around would be to make everything as inefficient as possible. So, like walking to the grocery store, walking at the furthest parking spot you can, park far away everywhere, take the stairs. Why take the elevator? This one's a little bit of a hack, and not everyone's going to have this available. But like, I have a desk, I have a computer, I work at a desk job, technically, even though I'm on a podcast with Rick the Reps. But throw a walking treadmill under there. Don't have a treadmill, just stand. So basically look at the time that you do have and how do I get the most out of it. And then I said, I layered on rucking, but throw some weight on it. But I'm looking at how do we get the most volume of steps everywhere, and basically just search for it because they're everywhere.
How much did that treadmill cost?
This one's pretty expensive. Well, I mean, Canadian dollars, it was like $1,300. I it's a good story behind that. I've broken two treadmills.
How'd you do that?
Yeah. Well, I was like 240 when I started. Like I was big into powerlifting and getting big.
How much do you weigh now?
I'm about 210,
wow.
205, wow. Depending on the. So I lost a lot of weight. Partially because jiu-jitsu sucks when I'm heavy because everyone else is heavier, so it just sucks. And then I just moved like crap. But yeah, I burned the motor out. A lot of like low-end treadmills have like a continuous recommendation of like 1 to 2 hours, and I was going like 3 to 4 hours, and then I was also over the weight limit. Like I don't do that much now, but essentially I bought like one that's rated for like 450 pounds in like 7 hours of use or something. So I got the bulletproof version of it, but yeah, about like 1,200. But you can get them you can get them on Amazon for like $200 if you're not jacked. If you're smaller if you're smaller than 200 pounds, you have a little bit more options available.
Do you think walking more has any effect on your performance in the gym?
Yes and no. So I think it can have, so on both ends of the spectrum, I think it can have a negative version of this story. Like, so when I first started, I mentioned I was going like 4 hours a day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, like I was getting sick all the time. Like I couldn't eat enough. So like to my point of high flux, I couldn't eat enough to keep my weight up and not get sick. So my immune system got crushed. And so I actually like halved how much I was doing. I think I was somewhere over 20,000. Because again, if I'm going to try something and do it, I'm going to do it to the max and find the limit. And I found the limit for me. So I think it can have a negative effect, right? Like if you can't recover from it, I think it can have a huge effect on your overall activity, right? But I think that you got to get crazy levels for that. On the other end, I think if you can't walk without, like if you can't do a flight of stairs or even like a few sets in the gym without getting winded, I think general aerobic activity is probably in your cards. And in a lot of cases, people think they have to start running, which I think is awesome. But I think from a standpoint, especially people who lift and are big and bigger or jacked, I think walking ends up being that middle ground where anyone can do it and you can scale it. So I think if you can't get through your workouts without being gassed, I think you can definitely probably use some walking. And if anything, just to get bigger. And hear me out. If you're in better condition, you can lift more volume in the same amount of time. And so more volume, more reps, more bigger. And so I think at a certain point that becomes untrue. Like I can't get through my workouts because I'm so tired. I walked all day. Well, just don't do that. Kind of have that. You're good. So yeah, like get in shape. Like, you get in shape to lift weights. And I think that was the thing is like people think I just like lift weights and like eat and get bigger. But at a certain point that becomes a rate limiter is your aerobic conditioning. And so
you were getting 20,000 steps per day. Tell me, how many calories were you taking in?
Like exactly. I don't know. Like so to that point, I think it was somewhere like at least when I was really going hard, it was like 27,000 steps a day. And
wow.
So there's some research within those higher numbers where kind of intuitive eating or just like ad lib eating, so eating whatever you want. People were like losing weight at like sub or over 27,000 steps and kind of 17,000 plus. They were kind of maintaining weight, just like eating whatever they want, basically. Like,
were you getting cravings?
I would. At that level, I was like the problem was like I was doing so much activity that I couldn't even eat enough to kind of support that. So I wouldn't even say it was cravings. I was just eating to like have energy, and so
you were like an animal.
Point,
you were just.
Like,
yeah.
Like I don't even. It was probably like over 4,000.
4,000.
So like not
wow.
not like a crazy, but like like I was eating more than that when I was trying to be 240, but when I'm not, like I said, I was sustaining. So to that point, I was at 205 ish, 210, so 30-ish pounds lighter, eating arguably the same amount of food and not being able to like gain weight. Like it was good. Like I could eat whatever I wanted, like for me, because again, the only way to eat more would be to try, like order pizzas and put oil and stuff. But like that's not normal life. So just me existing in the world eating, like I couldn't keep my weight on. Like so, to that point, high flux for me was a situation where I didn't have to think about food. Now, that's not the same situation for everyone. 27,000 steps is crazy. I worked from home. I had a walking treadmill. It was summer out. But to that point, it's possible. And I think that that's where most people get it wrong is they think, I have to do this to lose weight. And my argument is, did you ever think about this? Where you fall on that spectrum of food to activity or flux to low flux or high flux is going to be individual, but it's possible. I think that's my main message is you don't have to do it the way everyone said you had to do it, which is to starve yourself. You can do it another way, but just don't do what I did because I got sick.
Well, that's why we talk to people like you. We learn from example.
Yeah.
We get more reps from learning from you. So thank you for being a guest here on Rep and Fitness. Now, if somebody wanted to connect with you and learn more about what you have going on, how can they do that?
Yeah, so like we met on Instagram, and like you mentioned walking, and like
now we didn't even talk about sleeping, and you got some involvement with that.
Yeah, like it was just like I had to make my presence known, right? And so you noticed my handle on Instagram, and I've crowned myself the walk.more.king.
You earned it. I think you earned it. We got to get you a crown.
I earned it. And so like the crown is heavy.
Yeah.
Like out here, I have to go on Instagram, and anytime I see any mention of walking or steps or something to do in the realm of high flux, I just send a fire emoji or like here or that's right, like something. I gotta rep the steps, but I also have to pay homage to people who are repping it as well. So walk.more.king.
I appreciate that. Now, do you have anything coming up?
The only thing I got coming up, where am I? Like, you know what? I'll save it for later. We have a book coming out with Dr. Mike T. Nelson and Jed Johnson Stewart. It's in the works. I don't know if I want to give you the name, but it's probably pretty obvious. Maybe get fluxed. But that's kind of the biggest thing I got going on. I was part of a few online conferences that I think you can still get access to with the Sleep Recovery Summit, going over my model of flux. But other than that, like nothing in the works. Just sending out the good vibes and spreading the message and getting people to get fluxed.
I appreciate that.
Walk
I appreciate that so much. Dean, Walkmore King, thank you so much for being a guest on Rep and Fitness. Now everybody that's listening and watching at home, go get fluxed. Rocky. What a word. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode of Rep and Fitness. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It ensures you get all your future reps in. I'll see you on the next episode.